From Grooveview Studios in Columbus, Ohio, this is Getting the Brand Back Together, a podcast exploring the interdisciplinary art of banding, branding, and business building. Rock and roll relic, poet, writer, and brandist. I'm your host, Brad Circoni. Today, we're joined by Donna Mogavero, an iconic singer, songwriter, and quintessentially respected Columbus, Ohio music legend. Welcome to the show, Donna.
I am so happy to be here, and I'm totally humbled by those adjectives.
The last time I may have seen you would have been early 90s.
Yeah.
I think that's how long it's been.
Yeah. Do you still have those tights?
I do not. I have both pairs of leather pants, but I think the waist is like a 28 or something. Whatever.
Yeah.
Who are these for, right? Major Matt Mason, some little combat toy? I don't know. I can't believe that, but no, there's no tights. Before we get started, for our guests who may not have our heritage, is the way I'll put it, Donna.
Yeah.
Let me give a little background to who is on the podcast today. One of four and the only women to win the first annual Recorded Music Grant, voted number one singer-songwriter and number one favorite vocalist, female. You received 4 honors from the Greater Columbus Music Awards, and that was, really, this is a sweep. This is like a gold medal sweep. Outstanding acoustic solo performance, outstanding folk singer, outstanding rock singer, vocalist, and talent deserving wider recognition. That I agree with. And best female vocalist. Your second record, Out of the Nest, which I encourage everyone to listen to this record, received widespread radio airplay on stations across the country and was heard on the prestigious World Cafe by David Dye. The release received 2 awards, Excellence in Songwriting and Excellence in Recording, which it should have. I said to her last night when we were catching up in some 30 years that you are the jewel singer-songwriter of Ohio. You are, and I asked you, and I know humbly you'd never say that, but see, I'm in the ad business. I can say this.
Yeah, you say it.
Yeah. Who do we know of your pedigree that could be bestowed upon? And I still haven't thought of anybody. So you're going to have to, for now, hold that crown if you don't mind.
Okay.
All right. So to give you a little bit more of the time frame, we were talking about mutual old friends of ours, like Scott Steinecker, John Schwab,
Rusty,
Rainey. And we all kind of grew up in the music business in Columbus together.
Yes.
During that period, and all of us doing different things.
Yeah.
Right?
Mm-hmm.
I mean, you had the singer-songwriter thing, and certainly Schwabi had the country thing going on, and we were
Ronald Cole had the punk thing,
and we had kind of the narrative rock.
Yeah.
All happening in Columbus during that time. And you have graced the stage with a lot of heroic performers.
Yes.
Some of who are my absolute favorite, Warren Zevon, right? And you opened up for him a couple of times, correct?
Yeah, I opened up for him twice here, and then at Bogart's in Cincinnati.
God, what a great club!
Yeah,
it's still around.
Yeah.
Joan Osborne, John Hyatt. Talk about a songwriter,
right?
NRBQ, and Livingston Taylor, who is James Taylor's brother.
Yeah, that was the very first concert that 6 String Productions put on at the in the Old Town East.
Oh yeah! Wow,
yeah.
Awesome. I bet that was sold out.
Yeah, that was a great show,
and it's just a pleasure having you here and seeing you in person.
Thank you.
So we want everyone to know here, because of the generation gap to some of our listeners, Donna does not have an apartment downtown, and she is not writing on an iPad.
No.
She is using this thing called an acoustic guitar and probably a pen or a piece of paper.
Absolutely.
Right.
Well, I do write in my phone because I walk dogs.
Yes.
I write, things come to me, and I'm so glad that I have a phone that I can just voice memo.
Yes.
Thank you.
Yes, I know.
So
I love it.
Don't lose the melody that you might have come up with.
Yes. So back in the day, I was awoken in the middle of the night with this guitar line. Bun, dun, bun, dun, 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 boom, boom. I couldn't get it out of my head.
Okay. Well, that's a good sign.
It's the original notes of Jonathan Toledo, which is how we got signed and one of the first songs we had on MTV. And I had one of those stupid hand recorders sitting by the bed on campus with the big red button.
Yeah. Yeah.
So thank God, because I couldn't play that on guitar. I didn't know. I had to go to the rest of the band and say, okay, here's what I sing. Just play that. Do something with that. Right? So I want to talk to you about how you craft. So before we talk about your brand and your band, tell us, how do you go about writing a song? How does it come to you?
Well, I used to say it depended on what shoes I had on, you know. But you know, like we were talking earlier, I mean, I do walk dogs, so I'm outside a lot.
Mm-hmm.
I think it's kind of divinely given to. I go to Whetstone Park of Roses every day. And so I'm in the prairie.
Right.
And I'm watching this beautiful red-tailed hawk circling this prairie.
Wow.
So it's like, it's the metaphor.
Yeah.
You know what they're doing. They're because it's deep. It's very dense in the prairie, and he's looking deep down through, and I wrote this. I went home immediately and wrote Circling the Edges.
Beautiful. Beautiful.
Yeah.
So when you write, are you inspired? Like for me, I used to begin with a poem. So I would begin with words.
Yeah.
Except in the example I just gave you, but 99% of the time it was words. And then the words would inspire a feeling, because that's what we were talking about yesterday.
Right.
The feeling then catapulted me into using an instrument to express that as a voice.
Yes.
So for you, is it words? Is it a visual? Is it just a feeling and then you attack a pen or a guitar? Or is it sometimes just a guitar?
I think a lot of times it's, I may be feeling vulnerable and, and I just, it's not really for anybody else, but for me, it's a release, I
do know.
Right. I just want to write down how I'm feeling.
Yeah. You just want to capture it.
Right.
You're not even judging it at that point.
No, I'm not editing it or anything. I'm just free writing.
Right.
Yeah. And then get serious about it, Well, some songs, I don't know if this has ever happened to you, you've got lyrics, you got great lyrics, but you can't find any music for it.
Yeah.
I mean, I don't know how to wrestle that sometimes.
And for me, I didn't have, mine was, I could always find a melody in the poetry. I could find the vocal melody. And then from there, I could deconstruct music behind it. But I had a band, and we're going to get into that. You didn't. You did. It's Donna.
Right.
So you had to figure out all those obstacles that I had help with.
Right.
And that's why I asked you,
yeah,
about that kind of collaboration. So your process comes from capturing that emotion first.
Right.
However you have to.
Right.
Is it usually writing a lyric, or do you go to the guitar first? What's your natural first language once you're inspired?
I go to the guitar first.
You do?
Yeah.
Okay. Do you know what chord? Because we were talking before the show that our production team, most of them are very literate in music. And Donna and I... Those guys, the Otterbein guys.
Yeah.
But we are illiterate in music, but that's a positive because it makes us more creative. We have to search it out.
Right.
So I would, because we couldn't read music, we made colors for chords.
Right.
And we got specific. So a D would be a blue, but if it was a D minor, then it might be, more of a Navajo or Azul blue. We actually would make up color codes so we could talk to each other faster, right? Than having to figure it out.
Right.
Do you know what chord you're looking for when you have, what was the name of the song you just wrote? Circling
the Edges?
Circling the Edges. Do you go back and you go, oh my God, I know what this is?
Oh, no. I mean, I knew that it wasn't going to be just a 1-4-5.
Okay.
It's a drop D tuning and
there's depth.
Oh,
it's
yeah.
serious.
The chords are, I don't know. Don't ask me.
Right. But I'm saying you knew.
I know it's in D.
And you knew how to frame it musically.
Yes, I did.
That's unbelievable.
Yeah.
Now your background in music then, how'd you get into music? Were your parents musical?
No, but my brother was in a rock band when I was in, high school, junior high, and I used to sit on the basement steps and listen to them.
Wow.
Yeah. But I never said, oh, I want to do that.
Well, I was looking up, I Googled how many people have written a song in America.
Oh, gosh.
I couldn't find much. But I did find I told you I love research, but I did find something interesting. And that is that the idea of one person writing one song is dead.
Really?
Yeah. So they said the days of Irving Berlin and Cole Porter, and they brought up even Fleetwood Mac's Dreams. Right now there might be 14, 15 writers on a track.
Oh, yes, I know that. And that makes me feel good.
So I was going to say to you, do you understand what the jewel, that's why I was using those accolades.
Well, because that could also be why I don't go anywhere too.
That's why I've been stuck in Ohio for 30 years,
Where's
Brad?
my team?
Where's my team of writers? But
I'm open.
Now you are.
I'm open.
That's funny.
If you can make this better,
right?
I'm open.
So I was going to ask. That's what I'm leaning to.
But don't make it sterile.
I know you're not for that.
No.
See, I told you that's just the Italian in you.
Yeah.
You can't do that.
No.
Now, you said you did a low D tuning, right?
Mm-hmm.
Okay. So have you ever, when you've had this inspiration of a guitar, said, have you ever handed it off to a person and said, I've written part of this song. I got a verse. I don't have the chorus yet. What's your take on it? I'm going to sing it. You do the take. Has that ever happened?
It hasn't yet.
But you're open.
But I'm open. And I have thought about it because I do have these lyrics that I tried to put in a song, and I messed around. I messed around with it a lot, but I just kept getting, just not satisfied with, what I was coming up. And I thought, why don't you just, give this to somebody and say, what would you do with these lyrics?
Yeah.
And see if they come anywhere close to what you're thinking about it.
Right. So that amazes me.
So it has crossed my mind.
Right.
But then I also go,
let me ask you this.
Next song.
Right. Now, do you consider yourself collaborative, or do you work better as the lonely writer?
I think I work better as a lonely writer.
Mm-hmm.
Not that I'm not a collaborative person, because if you want,
because your personality is very collaborative.
Because if you have a band, whenever I bring songs to the band, I always say, if there's anything that you hear that you think can be improved upon, please, by all means, let's bring it out.
Okay, but when you're crafting that moment, and I didn't do this much because I told you on the phone that, your approach to music and mine, I started with making a brand first, not a songwriting band.
Right.
I started as branding.
Yeah.
So you are collaborative. You just like the process of building that feeling that you called it yesterday.
Yeah.
Just you and the guitar and your voice.
Yeah, I do. I love that it's that place, because the world is so busy, and there's just so much noise out there, and I don't like anybody to be around.
Mm-hmm.
It's just my Zen place.
I understand. When I was raising my two stepdaughters, they would say, well, Braddy, you need to go play guitar.
Mm-hmm.
Because I needed to reset.
Yeah.
I understand. And I love that you said it's your place. I get it.
Yeah.
That's beautiful. And you've had that over these 30 years. I mean, that's what you've always done.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
Tell us about your brand. I know you didn't start off thinking about Donna Mogavero and what that brand means by any means. You were a singer-songwriter. But you said something so remarkable. You said, I wasn't country enough for country. I wasn't rocking enough for rock. I wasn't formulaic enough for radio, right? I wasn't alternative enough for alternative.
Right.
That moment, you had to make a decision because now there's no category. So when did you decide the category would be you?
Well, what category is Jackson Browne in? What category is Joni Mitchell in? Although she was considered folk.
She's singer-songwriter.
At the very beginning of her career.
Right.
That would be, but when I think of folk music, I think of like Peter, Paul, and Mary.
Me too. Well,
Bob Seger.
Yeah.
I mean, I don't even think Arlo Guthrie is folk. These people are songwriters.
He's Americana. He's an American singer-songwriter.
Yeah, right. I'm an American singer-songwriter.
Okay. And so you knew that even then. And I asked you, did you ever think about compromising to go to one of those two categories?
No.
And and the reason that you said no was because why? Why didn't you say, "Oh, I could country this up"? I mean, I'm thinking about bands in the punk genre or the Black Crowes that might have a certain sound before the studio, and then they got a producer and they got a different sound.
Yeah.
You didn't want any of that to happen.
No, but you said you listened to Out of the Nest.
Yeah.
Okay. Did you hear the country on that song, on that album? Long Enough to Fall in Love with You?
Yep.
Hello?
Yep.
Not country enough.
No, but
You know, I mean, come on. That is country guitar, man.
It is.
You know?
Is. And I heard it all. I heard everything that we just talked about. I heard a little bit of rock.
Yeah.
I did.
Yeah.
And I heard.
And Vines?
Yes, I know. And then I heard what I really think I was listening to was adult alternative singer-songwriter before there was a category adult alternative.
Exactly.
That's what I think.
Yeah.
There's an alternative flavor to it, but it's not country. It's not country.
Well, if you listen to old Bonnie Raitt records, you know,
that's what I get.
You know, she's got the same stuff on her albums. You know, she's got her country. You know, she did Angel from Montgomery. She covered John Prine. You know,
right.
And
talk about a writer,
right? Then she's got River of Tears.
Yes.
I mean the Home Plate record, just great songs from people that wrote great songwriters that you'd never heard of.
Right.
You know.
And so I was going to tell you, I only have 7 words I want to say to you. And that is...
Only 7?
Out of the Nest, Oh Proud Girl.
Mm-hmm.
Tell me about that song.
Well, that pretty much sums up her. You'd like to tell somebody where you think you should go.
Right.
But you walk away with the spit on your hand.
Right. I
and
heard
you
that
pace
lyric.
the floor.
Right.
You know. And then it's that thing, with a little fixing up, because I was thinking about this last night too. I was like going, oh yeah, I forgot to tell him that part when I was first starting out and everything. I was also the girl who didn't shave her legs or her armpits.
Right.
So I was kind of in that hippie earth girl.
Hell yes.
Right. No one, I'm doing, that just wasn't me. I do shave my legs and shave my armpits now.
But then?
Yeah, but then
Hell
I did.
No.
You
were living it.
I was free. I didn't care, you know.
Right.
So that's, Oh Proud Girl. Just.
It's a great tune.
Thank you.
Yeah.
There are people that like that song, which I'm really grateful for.
Let's jump to your early days. We were talking about the people we knew in the business earlier on the podcast here. And last night we were talking about just some of the music that was out at the time. And you said, we were talking about McGuffey Lane. We were talking about Mimi Rousseau and Spit and Image. Willie Phoenix, who helped me, mentored me, I told you, and hooked me up with Dan Green at Amerisound when the studio was on North High Street, I think, downtown.
Right. And I was in a band called the Vectors.
Okay, see, I didn't know this.
Yeah.
Okay.
With Rick Waters.
Okay, I know that name.
Yeah.
Now, was this before you embraced your own brand?
Exactly.
Okay, now what did you just play guitar? Did you sing?
I played guitar and sang.
Okay.
Rick and I,
Yeah, were you the only female in the band?
I was the only female in the band.
So
of course.
Right, there was no one.
But it was an awesome band.
Okay.
And it was way ahead of their time.
Now, what was it like?
The name
The Vectors. It's punk. It's new wave punk. What is it?
No, oh my God. No, we did a lot of original material.
Okay.
Which people weren't really doing back then.
No, you couldn't.
No. But Rick Waters was a great songwriter. Paul Kellner played keyboards.
Okay.
Fabulous player. Former husband, my ex-husband, Randy Huff, was on drums.
Okay.
And we had a saxophone player and a fabulous bass player. And I had just come back from Alaska and I called Rick. Anyway, Rick, I'd known since I had been in high school because I followed a band he was in with Rob Brumfield, the late, great Rob.
Right.
You know, so, we were buddies and I called him up just to see what he was doing. He said, hey, I got this band together. He said, would you want to come and sing? And I was like, yeah. So, that's where I met Randy Huff, because brought him into the band. And yeah, the Vectors. Man, we were doing Stevie Wonder, Beatles.
60s.
Yeah. Just
You're killing 60s covers with great players.
Stuff, you know?
Yeah.
Steely Dan.
Yeah, complicated stuff then.
Yes, complicated stuff. It was crazy.
Yeah.
You know?
You don't miss the complicated stuff, do you?
Yeah, no. Well, that's how good the players were.
That's what I'm saying. That you had the band.
Yes. When you've got the band, you've got the players.
Right. You can take on the complicated shit.
Yeah. You know, we're doing Eric, Clapton and, just all this incredible stuff.
So how long are you with the Vectors?
So I was with the Vectors probably about a year.
And then you stepped out and did
Well, then I got pregnant. And then I left.
Right. Okay.
And then after my daughter was born, I went out on my own. Right. So that was 82.
Okay. And when we were talking about all these people, like we were talking about Steinecker and some people that have been on the podcast that gave you a lot of wonderful opportunities.
Yes.
And Schwabe, we both agree,
yes,
is a
god.
He's a god.
Yes.
When it comes to songwriting,
yes,
right? And voice, the voice.
Absolutely. Nobody has anything over John. Whatever
you and I and
whatever they're putting out,
it doesn't matter.
No, it doesn't matter. We've got John.
Yeah, exactly. And so when we were talking about this, you said the Jefferson Starship line to me last night, the idea that we built this city.
Mm-hmm.
And you have a great sense of home here in Columbus.
Yes.
And you made your business decision, your banding decision, your performance decision to stay here.
Yes.
Right?
Yeah.
Even though I know that you went to LA, you did a lot of stuff in...
I went to Nashville.
Tell me, when you said that, the idea that we built this city, when we were talking about, Schwabe and Phoenix and you and all those performers, what did you mean by that?
Well, we were talking about saturation,
mm-hmm,
and we just didn't have it back then.
Right.
We had, Ronald Cole, Willie Phoenix, The Toll. You guys were here sometimes.
Right.
We had Schwab. We had Spit and Image.
Right.
I was here. And along with all the, the players,
yes,
Tony McClung has still been here all these years. The great drummer, Tony McClung. Andy Woodson, Paul Brown, all these players that intermeshed with,
yes,
everybody,
yes,
and we were all still here.
You're right. So that's what you mean.
Right.
It was a movement.
It was a movement. We grew up together.
Yeah.
Here.
Yeah. You're right.
And we're still playing.
Right.
I mean,
you're right.
Columbus supported us.
Mm-hmm.
I never had a day job until I started walking dogs.
I cannot believe that. That is an unbelievable testament to you.
But
you said to me yesterday,
I was poor, but
but you also said, but poor and happy.
Yeah.
And you also said, yeah, but Brad, I didn't have a 7-person road crew.
Exactly.
That I was paying for.
No.
Right?
Right.
And we were reminiscing about clubs we would like to play because they already had sound systems and lighting in there.
Right.
And we didn't have to lug the stuff.
Right.
The stuff in. But you made the decision to say, I'm going to be Donna Mogavero from Columbus, Ohio. You had a small daughter, I believe, at the time, right?
Yes.
And that's why you made that decision.
Yes.
Unlike Schwab and I, you said, I'm not going on the road.
No.
Right? So what's the other love affair for you in Columbus, Ohio? Besides the idea that it's a place you're from, I know you've written tons of inspirational music because of it.
Mm-hmm.
Why do you like being here?
Well, when I was out in LA,
for how many years? Not long, right?
No, I was only out there a year.
Okay.
And I really had a great time. And I mean, I managed to play the Whiskey, and I managed to get on a compilation CD that a music store, where I had to compete.
Oh, I know.
I had to go in and play a couple songs and be judged.
Right.
And I had just written Vines out there, and that was the song that got me on this compilation of...
Right. I think there's only, it was the 12 best acoustic alternative acts.
Yeah.
That's what it was.
Yeah.
And you were on it.
Yeah. And so, you know.
So I didn't know that happened in LA.
Yeah, that happened in LA.
Okay.
And, you know, and I met some fabulous players out there too.
Oh, I bet.
But I did have a job.
Oh, see? That's why you don't like it.
I had a job.
Right. That's why you're in Columbus, you can get by.
I was like, oh my God. I was a barista.
Okay.
I worked in this.
Before there were baristas.
Yes. It was called Monty's. And Monty, this guy actually cooked for Michael Jackson.
Oh.
But he had this coffee shop, pastries.
Of course, this is what happens in LA,
yeah,
right?
Exactly.
You cook for Michael, but you have a coffee pastry shop.
Exactly.
Of which you're one of the 12 best alternative acoustic singer-songwriters. And of course, you're working for Monty.
Exactly.
Who's working for Michael.
Right. Exactly. You know, but, you know, I still couldn't make my rent off of that.
Right.
And I was the oldest person that worked there,
right?
Of course. So I was the one that was called when somebody
didn't show.
The little 20-something-year-old couldn't make it in the next day. Yes,
Let's call responsible Donna.
Yeah, because I was 36.
Right.
You know? So I'm out there and I'm like going, well, my parents were back here too, my family.
Okay.
You know, my daughter. And I was like, I thought to myself, you know, I could do it out here. I'm pretty sure I could. It will take me, though, at least a good 5 to 10 years, you know, but I could do it. But man, I didn't want to miss my daughter growing up.
I understand.
You know,
totally
and my
understand.
parents were older. My mother wasn't
worried about that.
Yeah, my mother wasn't doing well. And I was like going, God, I can go back to Columbus. I can play music all over the place.
Right.
You know.
Right. And you had the relationships.
Yeah.
Because of the line that you said, we built this city.
Yeah. So home I go.
Right.
Vines.
Right. Beautiful.
And are your bridges still standing?
Exactly.
Are the vines strong enough to swing back across?
That's it.
Because I've known a lot of people that have come back.
Yep. Oh, I know.
Yeah.
So talk to me in that time period early on, female singer-songwriter.
Mm-hmm.
All the bands are comprised of mostly
men.
Yes.
Yeah.
So what was your strategy? How hard was it to get gigs? And how well do you think you were received? Do you think it was a differentiator because no one was doing what you were doing?
I think that's why I was well received. You know, I will humbly say that I think a lot of the, I believe that the fellas that were my comrades, my musical friends, you know, which is why I got to play with the best. You know, they liked what I was doing.
Right.
You know?
Very, very bold at the time.
I mean, I actually did fire one of the greatest guitar players in this town. I'm not going to name names. Okay. But
and the reason you did that,
I did that because I felt disrespected by him.
Of course.
Yeah. Because when you're learning my song, and you're asking another player how it goes,
that's a problem.
That's a problem for me.
So you just said the door's right over there, XYZ.
Yeah. I don't.
That's awesome.
I don't think this relationship's going to work.
That's awesome. So we were talking about those early days. And even then, you told me this story, which everybody in our business has this story, but yours is a damn good one.
Oh.
Which I'd like you to tell again today. And you said, but before you do that, you said to me, Brad, I write songs that make people feel and that have integrity.
Mm-hmm.
That's it. Those, right? That's the objective.
Because I listened to music that made me think and made me feel.
Mm-hmm.
You know, so I wanted my music to be that too for people. And I think it is. You know, I mean,
it is.
You know, it's like, Oh, Broad Girl, you tapped onto that one. you know, and there's so many people that just love, you know, circling the edges.
Mm-hmm.
You know, my personal favorite off of my most recent release is called The Movie.
Okay, I haven't heard that.
That song wrote itself in 6 minutes.
I love it.
No, very little editing, chord progression, everything came right at the same time.
Including lyric?
Yep.
Wow, that's never happened to me.
Yeah, it was, I couldn't write it fast enough.
So when we were talking about that, you told me this story about this time you played. You played in this club and there was one person there.
At the end of the night.
At the end of the night.
Yeah.
And you, of course, being the artist, the performer, you went up to him.
Well, I went to sit at the bar and get a beer.
Okay. So
nobody's here.
So it's been like that for me at the beginning of the show, during the show, and there's not even one. So,
but there was the one guy.
Okay, so what happened? So you go to the bar.
So I go
to
the bar, I sit down.
This isn't the beginning of a joke.
Yeah, no. So I sit down, and there's this guy. He looked a little forlorn. You know, he was kind of like this,
slumped over a little bit.
Yeah, slumped over, and he just starts shaking his head, and I thanked him for being there.
Awesome.
You know, and he just started shaking his head, and he just turned and looked at me and just said, you know, when I came in here, I was really depressed. Now I'm really impressed. Now I'm impressed.
Right.
And I was like, I said, well, you know, that made me feel, you know,
grateful.
Yeah. You know, because you only need really one person.
That's it.
The lovely sound of one man clapping, right?
Right. That's a great story.
I want to tell you another story about those awards.
Yeah.
Okay. So I get all these awards, right?
Yeah.
We have a big night at the Newport.
Yeah.
Huge. I go to leave. I'm walking out the back, and what do I see? My van is being towed away.
What? With all the equipment in it?
Yes, it did have all my equipment in it. I was like running after it.
Right, of course.
You know, and they're like, we don't care.
Right.
And I was like, wouldn't you know, here I just won all these awards of being, you know, getting all this glory. And
but a van's a van in the wrong place, Donna.
Yes, it is. Especially back then.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, they were ready for you, man.
Yeah, they were
Shamrock towing, man.
I know, we know who it was. Yeah. You're right. And we're not editing that. No. It's Shamrock.
It's Shamrock. They will get you. You got no luck with that Shamrock.
With Shamrock, no. That is not a good Shamrock.
So, you know, cost me $180 to get all those awards.
After you told me that story yesterday, you said, I'm not into just rocking people or getting drunk on stage, and I want some kind of integrity. And that's what your music is about.
Yeah.
Right? Emotional feel, very thought-provoking, right? You want your music to do that. Was it hard for you when the world around you, when that wasn't popular? Remember you told me real quick that you were trying to get you tried the country thing for 1 or 2 shows or whatever. It didn't work. No. So you said no to that. But was it hard for you sometimes as the world was changing, being an independent singer-songwriter and all these trends were happening? Was it hard for you sometimes to stay focused on what you were doing, or was it not?
I don't think it was. I just I was so grateful that Bonnie Raitt's Nick of Time hit the charts.
That you said there's hope.
Ding.
Right.
Yes. See, people are waking up.
Right.
You know?
Right.
And then Sheryl Crow comes out.
Right.
I'm like, oh my gosh, this is awesome. I know that I'm not the only one.
Right.
You know?
Right.
Not the only one, you know?
Right.
So there's something out there for everybody.
Right.
You know, you've heard that saying?
Yes.
And I'm grateful. I'm so grateful to Columbus and my fan base here. And that's where the song The End of the Drive comes in. Because Columbus, you've allowed me, you know, to the end of the drive and back again.
Yeah.
You know.
That's
you held my hand, you listened to me, you know.
And supported.
And yeah.
No matter what.
Right. To the end of the drive and back again, no matter what.
So as a one-person show then, through all of this, did you ever start off thinking of maybe not a category, but what kind of singer-songwriter? Did you ever calculate what kind of singer-songwriter you wanted to be? Bonnie Raitt obviously influenced you, Joni Mitchell. Or did you always know that you just were going to be this independent rocket of, as you said, feeling and message? What's the message and how do I feel?
Right. Well, it's that thing, people will ask you, so, how would we describe your music?
Right. Oh, I know.
Okay. So
it's exhausting.
It is exhausting. So now I just say, do you like Sheryl Crow? Do you like Bonnie Raitt? Do you like Joni Mitchell? I guess you could describe my music like that.
That's great. That's a great way of doing it.
That's why it's called Donna Mogavero music.
When I think about that and what you did and are still doing, did you see yourself as a bold singer-songwriter?
No, just kept going.
Okay. Just pure expression.
Just keep going. Just keep doing what you're doing. Like I said, I still got work.
Right. Well, you had more work than everybody. I mean, seriously.
We talked about how fickle Columbus has been.
Yes.
You're
right. It was, you got to be a band.
Right.
Then singer-songwriters. Then it's got to be country.
Right.
Now, most of your time, were you playing as a solo act?
Yes, I did.
I mean, if you would look back at those 30 years, I know today that you do. Right?
Yeah.
Was it 70%, 90%?
I would say it was probably mostly solo.
Okay.
Mostly solo.
Okay.
And I'd throw a band together for Compfest, period,
Yeah. Do a couple rehearsals. But your mainstay always was single songwriter.
Because, I could play more.
Right. Exactly.
I could make more money as a soloist.
Exactly.
Because people still don't want to pay you.
I know. So how many gigs were you playing a year? Do you have any idea at the height when you wanted to play a lot?
In the 90s, I was playing 5-6 nights a week.
That's what I thought. I swear you were always playing.
Yeah. Well, you got to also remember that we used to play one club 3-4 nights a week.
I know.
Right?
Yeah. So you would book Tuesday, Wednesday, or Wednesday, Thursday, Friday.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah. Or, I had steady places. There was a lot of that where you'd play the same place every Wednesday, Thursday night.
Right.
Right. I did that. And, and then in the early 2000s, I, hosted the open mic on Wednesday nights at the Thirsty Ear and, played Thursday, Friday, and Saturday.
And packed it. So tell us about Nashville.
That was fun.
You did the LA thing. Did you actually live in Nashville?
I was down there for like 3 months.
Okay. And you had a connection with...
Which was really fun.
Yeah. And you had a connection with the bass player.
Yeah.
Right? From Trisha Yearwood.
Yeah.
So tell us about that.
And that was cool.
Because he's was a well-recognized studio.
Yes.
Yeah.
And at that time, I just had my first acoustic CD out.
Okay.
And he really liked it. So we did 2 showcases together.
Okay. So he played.
Yeah.
So he liked it enough that he played.
Yes. Yeah.
That's a big deal.
Yeah. I was actually kind of down there, like on the Taylor Guitars was kind of sponsoring me a little bit. I did showcases up in Cleveland for Taylor Guitars.
Wow.
Yeah. And
I didn't know
at the Folk Alliance and Taylor Guitar showcases. I did a couple of those. And so I was doing a Taylor Guitar showcase. Oh, it was so embarrassing.
What happened? In Cleveland?
In Nashville.
In Tennessee.
It's a songwriter round.
Yeah.
Okay. And I'm playing this song off of my acoustic CD called In This Room. And
I heard it.
It's, of course, in an open tuning.
Just so everybody knows, she looked at what was she? It's the sophisticated musician when she said open tuning.
It's an open tuning. And where the D string goes all the way up to E.
Woo!
Yeah. It's a stretch for it.
Yeah.
It's the last place you can take that D string.
Yeah. Yeah.
And boy, I popped it.
You did.
On my turn.
So what are you going to do?
So not only was that embarrassing because I'm like, with all these Taylor guitar players.
Right.
Thank God they were all Taylor guitar players.
Right.
And somebody loaned me theirs.
That's cool.
That was so awesome.
Yeah.
Until I broke that string too.
What?
Yeah.
And how long were you in Nashville when this happens?
Oh, I had been down there a few months. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
So yeah, broke 2 strings on Taylor guitars at a songwriter showcase. And
did you ever get to play it?
Yeah.
Okay. So the third one was a challenge.
Yes, it was.
Now, why you were in there 3 months doing what exactly? What were you just playing and showcasing there?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. Open mics. Had a really good friend down there. Met some really cool people down there. So I was having a great time.
Being an independent singer-songwriter, did you love being infused in that country feel?
Well, in Nashville, okay, you got to remember that was early 90s.
Right.
There is an underground.
Oh, hell yes.
Underground music scene going on there.
Right.
And I slipped right into it.
Okay.
Yes. Alice down the rabbit hole.
Okay.
Right into the underground part. And
so you loved it.
Yeah. And this guy that I met down there, Henry, he was a songwriter, and great guy. And he just took my hand and, brother, you took my hand, and you listened to me, and he showed me all over Nashville, took me to all the cool places. And the
only club I remember playing there was, it's still around. It's called the Exit Inn.
Mm-hmm. But I got to do the Bluebird.
Yeah, I've never.
Shit. I was the last one in line for that lottery that they pull.
Really?
Yeah.
So how was that experience?
And then I got pulled. Then my number was 23.
Yeah.
Because that's how they do that.
Right.
For at the Bluebird.
Right.
So that was fun.
Yeah.
So it's not like a lack of trying.
Right. Okay, so then you come back to Columbus, right? The early 90s, you say?
So I came back. That would be in 96. I came back.
Okay.
Because I was in LA for 95.
Right. So you were in LA for that whole year.
Yeah.
Okay. So you come back, and that's when you make the decision. And you've been playing for a while then, as I know it's the brand is Donna Mogavero Music, but you're playing as Donna Mogavero.
Right.
When you came back, did those experiences change how you approached your songwriting, or just, again, added to what you were already doing?
I think it just added to what I was already doing. And when I did come back from LA, I had songs in my pouch,
Yeah.
I had Vines,
Yeah.
I had Heaven Was a Lie, and I had the Out of the Nest CD.
Okay, so that travel did change your perspective.
Yes. That's when I met up with Rob McNally.
Okay.
Because we were watching the farewell.
The guitar player on, for the listeners.
And that was,
Nest.
McGuffey Lane was just doing their last hurrah at the Newport. And Rob McNally, son of Bobby Jean McNally. I hope your ears are burning. He was playing and I was in the audience. I was like going, oh man, I got to play with that guy. And he was only like 18.
I was going to say.
Yeah.
Right. He was just out of high school.
Yeah.
Right?
He was only like 18. Yeah. I was like, wow.
That's great.
We did a duo for a little while.
Oh, I didn't know that.
Yeah. Rob played with me as a duo, and he was in, then I kept put a band together with him, and yeah, we had a great time.
That's awesome. I did not know that either.
Yeah.
You brought up some ferocious songwriters. Joni Mitchell, Jackson Browne. Because that iconically, Donna, that's your category.
Yes.
Right?
Yes.
And if you were to think about the kind of songwriting you're doing as a singer-songwriter, how would you describe it if you listened to it?
I would describe it as acoustic rock.
You would?
Yeah.
And why do you add that term rock?
Because it does rock.
It does. And that's why
I love about the acoustic guitar. Yeah, I played
the dynamics of it.
Yeah. And I played the electric guitar, rhythm electric guitar for like 10 years. No acoustic at all. I was playing electric.
Only electric.
Electric.
Then you went to acoustic.
And, but I mean, no, I always played acoustic guitar, but in my band,
electric.
All electric. Even the acoustic songs.
Right.
And then when I started getting all these great, playing with, great guitar players, I was like, well, I'm going to bring my acoustic guitar. And I just fell back in love with the acoustic guitar again. And when I got my Taylor guitar in 1991.
That was it.
Bam.
The sound effect.
I put the Strat down,
and that was it.
And that was it. And it was like, that's
why just the resonance, the resonance.
Well, it's a percussion instrument. And plus, I think it just fills in.
It does.
It just, it gives songs texture.
Yes. Great word. It's contextual. It's warm. It resonates.
Yeah.
And it feels good when you sing with it.
Yes.
It feels different. It feels like there's a partner.
Right. Because you can actually feel it vibrating.
Exactly. It's against your body.
Yeah. It's acoustic. It's wood. I mean, don't get me wrong. I love the electric guitar. I love it. I have to have electric guitar in my band.
Right. Of course.
I mean, it's my...
But when you're writing, you really do want acoustic.
Yes.
Yeah. And
But you'll write something different on the electric guitar.
Absolutely. Because you can.
Yeah.
It's easier to play.
Yeah.
Right.
It just offers different,
nuances.
Yeah, exactly.
Tell us about the song for Experience Columbus.
Mm-hmm.
They came to you. I remember hearing about this.
Mm-hmm.
News and Noteworthy. They came to you and said, you are going to write a song for Columbus, Ohio, because we think you represent as a singer-songwriter and understand our city.
Right.
So tell us
They didn't actually say you are going to. They asked me, would you be interested?
And you said...
But that's nice.
But you said, without hesitancy, though you're fiercely independent, hell yeah.
Yeah, sure.
Okay, because this is your home.
That's right. And they were going to pay me.
There is that.
I was going to make money off of it.
There is that. Okay, so tell us what happens. What year is this, first of all?
This would be...
Late 90s, I want to say.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
97, around there.
Yes. Very late 90s.
Okay.
Yeah. Because the late, great Rob Brumfield was playing with me.
Still alive.
Yes. And then I said, yes, I would love to. So my wheels start turning about like, oh gosh,
what am I going to write about?
What am I going to say? What's this one going to do? And, because I never thought songwriting was very easy when
I still don't think it is.
No, I don't.
It's hell.
I don't think it's hell, but it can be. But it's just, I'm not one of those people that disciplines sit down every day and
no,
write a song a day.
Right.
I
tried that for a summer once.
Yeah.
I ended up with a title called Tapping Taffeta. You can imagine how bad this song was. When you are writing songs about materials, garment materials, because you're stuck in New York City.
Oh, God.
That's when you know you've written too many songs.
Right. Gotta go. So then, I get a call back and the guy goes, oh, Donna, you've already written the song. I'm like, I have? And he goes, yes, The Streets Where I Live.
Right.
I said, oh, so I'm thinking they just want me to come back in and re-record it.
Sure, recut it.
Yeah, just recut it so that they could do their video to it and everything. Yeah. And then he says, but you're going to have to change the words.
Right. And now
I'm like, oh, okay.
And of course, you were singing the words that were outside your window.
Yes.
Which you shared with me a bit of the lyric.
Yeah. There's a room for rent in a big brick building. A car for sale with white walls and no radio. The old men watch the hookers go by on the streets where I live. There are children and dogs and cats in the windows. Big old trees that break when the wind blows. A privacy fence and you're out of sight on the streets where I live. Because that was the short north.
That's beautiful.
In 1980.
That's beautiful.
Yeah. But they didn't want Columbus represented like that.
Yes, I understand. You just saw the truth and wrote it.
Yeah. So
Those words changed too.
Those words, I took another good look around and rewrote the song.
Yeah. And you took a commercial glance at your authentic inspiration. You still own that song with those words.
Yeah.
Right?
Yes.
And so I just think it's very interesting how fierce you were creatively and you love Columbus. So you had no problem saying, of course, we got to do something a bit more commercial, and it opens you up more.
Yeah. Let's explain it again.
Exactly.
The Streets Where I Live, Part 2.
Exactly. And so the chorus, the repetitive hook of The Streets Where I Live remained the same, but all the lyrics.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Leading up to that refrain changed.
Right.
Through another lens.
Yeah.
See, that just recrowns you as Ohio's singer-songwriter. Sorry, but it does.
There's no such thing as a limit.
That's right.
On the streets where I live.
Ah, that's right. That's the new lyric?
That was the old lyric.
That was the old lyric. Yeah. So you could live it again.
Yes, we could.
In version 2.
Yeah.
So I want to talk about branding a little bit before we wrap up. And that is, if you were, Donna, to put a band together using 4 artists, right? And you weren't in the band, but you could bring 4 other artists. And you shared this with me a little bit off mic, but tell me who those artists would be.
Okay, so it would be Joni Mitchell, Bonnie Raitt, Chrissie Hynde, and I would have to put Ricky Lee Jones in that band.
And you had Sheryl Crow.
And Sheryl Crow, yeah.
Okay, so that's fine. We move it to a 5-piece.
Yeah, it's a 5-piece.
You've been alone so long doing this. You need a lot.
Can I have 5 people?
Okay, but I want to go through from a brand perspective.
Oh, okay.
Tell me, what does Joni Mitchell bring? Why is she in the band?
Well, Joni Mitchell, I think, brings a broader brushstroke to the whole ambiance of the music, the feel, everything.
And the way her lyrics flow around the music she writes.
Right. And she's kind of like Mercury. You know, she moves around. You can't put your finger on Mercury. It moves. And that's how Joni Mitchell is like. Her music, it's like a kaleidoscope.
That's beautiful.
So that's
her brand in your band.
Yeah.
Okay.
That's how I would, she's just so psychedelic to me.
Yeah. And when you said that to me, something like this yesterday, you've said it more eloquently today, is that she's like a new instrument.
Right.
It's like a different instrument.
Every time.
Yes. That's what that Mercury does. And that's why you're saying that.
Yeah.
All right. Bonnie.
And then Bonnie Raitt, because, you want to rock and you want to rock hard. You want to feel that in your gut.
Right.
Grit. Yeah. The grit. And I just always have loved, her voice.
No kidding. Desperate, but serious.
Just, it's just deep. And I have a deep voice.
You do.
So, I can
relate.
I can get behind her.
Right. And as a female gunslinging guitar player, she broke the mold.
She did.
Right? She did it.
She did. She is the one that, she is known for her slide guitar playing.
Yeah.
Right.
Because she's unbelievable.
Yeah.
All right. So she's obviously, that's why she's in the band.
Yes.
Because of that on brand. Now, Sheryl Crow.
Sheryl Crow, the lovely
yes, exactly.
Crow.
Great adjective. So why is she in the
Mogavero
lineup?
Sheryl Crow, she also, she was a break. She, like we talked about, she had that perfect timing in the women in music.
Exactly.
I think when people were finally just really appreciating.
Yes.
And she came out, and Sheryl Crow is a great songwriter. She's a great pop songwriter.
That's what I was going to say. She's like the commercial version of some of the other acts that you've talked.
But still has depth.
Exactly.
And
fierce lines
and artistry
that you don't cross.
Right. It's all about artistry.
Yeah, good word.
And so she's, you can, her songs have, you can vision, she paints a picture.
She does.
Like
Pinball repairman.
Like Joni Mitchell does, so that's what I like. I like you got pictures.
Yeah.
And I like any pictures.
And music.
Yeah.
And market.
Yeah.
And, that whole female artistry being embraced all aligned for her at that time.
Right. And she also, even though she can write a verse, chorus, bridge, whatever, she does it
her way
very well.
Yeah.
And
not so formulaic.
No.
Not so formulaic.
No. Great changes, chord changes.
Yeah. And I think artistry is it.
Yeah.
All right. Chrissy. Why is Chrissy Hine make
And then
the cut?
Chris, you talk about, guitar slingers.
Yeah. And attitude.
Right. Yeah. I mean, hello. Me and,
Right. So that would be a pretty badass lineup.
That'd be a pretty
of fierce females.
I think so.
Yeah.
I'd go see that band.
I'd go see that band. Wow.
I'd want to be in that band.
Right. So I was thinking about banding, branding, and business building. And I asked you a question that blew me away 30 years. And I said, well, who was managing it? And you said, you were.
Yeah.
And I said, well, who's doing the business side of it? You were.
Yeah, I'm not a good business manager.
But my point is, the name of this podcast, Getting the Brand Back Together, is about that artistry of banding, branding, and business building. And you were a solo artist doing all three.
Right.
That's amazing.
Well, you can't get a manager unless you are, 1,000 people strong and
in a club in one night.
In a club in one night for a long time.
Before we wrap then, or as we wrap, answer me this. I have two questions. One, is there anything you would do over?
There probably are things that I would do over.
Mm-hmm.
I did not, as a young girl, say, I want to be a musician when I grow up.
Right.
I didn't have a plan. And I think the only plan that I had was when my father asked me, well, what are you going to do if songwriting,
doesn't work out?
I said, well, then I'll play other people's songs.
I bet he hated and loved you at the same time.
That's what people do. They play other people's songs.
Yeah, Dad, don't ask a dumb question again.
Right. But my dad did think that I was better than Reba McEntire.
That's good. So he was on the right track.
Yes.
Right? He was.
He was.
Okay.
Yeah.
And then my second question is, thank you for answering that question. It's a hard question.
It is a hard question.
I mean, I think about my career and I probably couldn't tell you because it's so emotional to me of the things that I could have done.
Yeah.
Yeah,
but what they want women to do
is different than what I would be asked to do. You are right. Especially then.
Not going to do it. Not going to happen.
All right. The last thing is then, what do you think the hardest thing was about this life that you've chosen? Live performances 5 or 6 times a week. Looking back, what was the hardest part?
Well, they are long nights. There's a lot of hours.
Mm-hmm.
Songs don't get written by themselves.
They don't execute by themselves?
No, they don't. No. You just don't open the cupboard and pull one out,
Oh, I have a cupboard full of songs.
Oh, do you?
Yeah. You could come over sometime and look at them.
I have a drawer full of, junk. I'm like, if these lyrics don't make it in 6 months, they're gone.
They're gone, right? That's called stale creativity.
Exactly. I think the hardest thing for me was really, I had a family. I didn't stay in Nashville long enough. I wasn't willing to, do the things that, they wanted you to do, formulate. I think I was every bit as good as any of them.
I agree.
I think my songwriting has gotten better as I have aged. I don't think my earlier stuff, before my first acoustic album, when I listened to it, I'm like, there are some really good songs on here. But if you listen to them, I mean, there's where you could maybe hear my Joni Mitchell influence,
Yeah.
I mean, I've gone back and had to relearn them going, what was I playing?
Right.
What is that chord?
Right. Especially if you're screwing around with tuning and capo.
Exactly. None of it is commercial.
Yeah. But there's a beauty in that, right?
Right.
There's a beauty in that when you look back.
None of it is commercial. And to this day, I don't think any of my songs are commercial. And I don't care.
I know. You said to me yesterday that you've only written for those who want to feel something and listen to it. And those who don't, it doesn't matter.
Exactly.
That's a wonderful attitude.
Yeah,
I love it. That's what you have to do to survive as an
artist.
You
just got to be you.
Right.
Right. Thank God, like I said, I'm very grateful to Columbus. I bow down to Columbus, Ohio when it comes to...
It's been a good relationship, hasn't it?
Not just to me either. I mean,
to me.
To you. Right. I mean, to those that are still here playing Willie Phoenix, Terry Davison. There's a lot of us out here that are still playing.
Yeah.
I think that's a lot to be said for a town, because I don't know too many other cities that just
help carry us along this long.
Yeah.
No.
Right. They make you leave.
That's called Midwestern love.
Yeah.
Well, thank you very much. This was joyful for me to sit down with you.
It was great.